Well, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. My name is Matthew and I'm the Adult Services Coordinator here at Sandwich Public Library District in Sandwich, Illinois. Thanks for taking the time this evening to joining us for this webinar. We wanted to take a few moments, especially right now, to learn and engage around the topic of mental health. We want to be able to support our loved ones and care for ourselves, especially as we walk into the time around the holidays and in this winter season and with all that's going on with the pandemic. And so we hope that this will be a great resource for our community. And so we've enlisted the help of some experts, our friends at NAMI. It's the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And so we have a guest presenter with us tonight who will be sharing a great information and resources, all of which will be here in this presentation. But then also this is going to be recorded so that you can reference it later or share with others in our community. And all of the resources that our presenter will mention, we will post on our website as well, so you can find those there. I want to take a moment to orient us to this webinar. At the bottom of your screen, you should see a chat function. You can say hello, let us know where you're viewing from there if you would like. You should also see a Q&A function. And at the end of our time, we will be taking questions and answers. And so if you have a question that comes up during the presentation, or if there's something you'd like to hear more about, feel free to put that in the chat or the Q&A. I'll keep an eye on both of those and then make sure we get as many of those questions answered as we have time for. So this evening, we're going to be hearing from Annie Fish, who is the program coordinator for NAMI KDK. And so we're very much looking forward to her presentation. I want to say thank you, Annie, so much for your time, for being with us, for partnering with us here at the Sandwich Library. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Annie and enjoy this presentation.
Awesome, thank you. Just making sure you can hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, my name is Annie and thank you for inviting me. Something I do want to start off saying is that, sorry, can you still hear me? Okay, it turned off for a second there. That the Q&A part is really something that I really enjoy. So feel free to write in there, and that way I can kind of know what you're looking for, and we can kind of focus the conversation afterwards. This is kind of general, whether you're looking for information for self-care for yourself, your family, your kids, you know, if you are an essential worker, things of that nature, go ahead and drop those in the question and answer portions, and we can talk about that further. So with that, we will begin. Let's see. Okay. So my name is Annie again. I am the programs coordinator at NAMI KDK. We are going to start with just a little check-in. This is my favorite show right now and has been a little bit of part of my self-care, is Schitt's Creek. It's on Netflix. It has just been a phenomenal feel-good show for me. Binged it very, very quickly. So just thinking to yourself as you're watching this, you know, what stage of self-isolation that we're on, because something that's important for me to acknowledge in this presentation is that I'm not here to tell you that, you know, what's going on around us doesn't exist, and to pretend like it doesn't. You know, I don't think that helps us. So, you know, being real with ourselves and our emotions, there's no shame in that. And, you know, if anyone who does watch Schitt's Creek knows Moira Rose, she wears all of her emotions on a sleeve, which I completely appreciate. And I think it's just raw and honest. And I think it's something that we can all try to do a little bit more. So today I would say that I am feeling like a little bit, let's see, kind of in between number 5 and number 4. I'm really excited to be talking to y'all today. But it has been kind of a crazy time for me. I take care of my 2 nieces and my nephew, and e-learning is just something else, but it is a lot of fun as well. So yeah, just balancing things is hard, and I definitely understand that school the school aspect of it. They go to an Oswego school, so I'm not really exactly sure what the Sandwich schools are currently doing. Plans are implemented, but I'm sure things are, of course, changing as the restrictions continue to change. So I did want to get a little bit of an overview about NAMI KDK. So again, we are a part of a larger or national organization called National Alliance for Mental Illness. And our KDK stands for geographical location that we cover, that being Kane South, Kendall, and DeKalb counties. So we do have services, free mental health services in your area, and something that is just available and more accessible than ever, especially due to the different options that we provide of remote, and we do have in-person options available at this time, but obviously could change here and there. But we provide free mental health education, support, advocacy, all that good stuff. And we are right here in Aurora, and that's just where we're based, but all of us are kind of doing remote work right now anyway. So we're kind of based all over. So something about us as a national organization that makes us unique is that we are all experts in our lived experience. I am a social worker individually and outside of NAMI KDK, but at NAMI KDK, I just purely talk based on experience because I myself have anxiety, and my family members also have mental health conditions. So yeah, that's kind of what relates us to the topic and makes us experts in the topic, which I just think is very refreshing. And then these are some of our team, and we have this graphic just to remind you that we are, all in this together, and especially during this pandemic, wild times, we are here for you and you are not alone. So I want to start off by just giving a basic overview of mental health. So we use these statistics from NAMI.org, and they are revisited and reassessed every couple of years. But 1 in 5 adults living in the United States have a mental health condition at some point in their lifetime. And unfortunately, only about 50% of that population actually goes and seeks treatment. And of that population, they typically take 11 years from symptoms onset to then go and seek treatment. So I think this is pretty telling of a stigmatizing topic that mental health can be when it's something that we all experience. Mental health, we can practice good mental health habits, but we all have mental health, and have a mental health condition is something that 1 in 5 have, but it doesn't mean that we can't seek treatment, especially when we have free resources available for our communities. So we're right here in your backyard. We are very good about getting you the resources that you need to make sure that, to get that higher percentage of people within that population to go seek treatment and to not take as long, just to educate in the fact that, there are resources right here in our backyard. And we say all of this and highlight these statistics to also just let you know that you are not alone. That's a very common NAMI phrase. Just I think 1 in 5 alone just tells us that we aren't alone, and that we do have people that understand and empathize with us. So we'll kind of go into potential symptoms just to see if, all right, oops. To see if that any of us may be experiencing these. These are again from NAMI National that we support and understand to be true. So these symptoms, you can look at them for yourself or your loved ones. The big health signs are the parts that are underlined, but basically if you're feeling sad or withdrawn for more than 2 weeks, and for any of these symptoms, pretty much within this 2-week period and longer is something to really kind of pay attention to and to start really noting. Because of course we can have bad weeks or, intense moments in our lives, especially now. So I think it's important to understand that part of looking out for symptoms and of that nature. Some other symptoms could be severe, out of control, risk-taking behaviors that cause harm to self or others, sudden, overwhelming fear for no reason, sometimes with racing heart, fast breathing, or physical discomfort, seeing, hearing, believing things that aren't real, drastic changes in mood, behavior, personality, or sleeping habits, extreme difficulty concentrating or staying still, intense worries or fears that get in the way of daily activities, throwing up, using laxatives, or not eating to lose weight, significant weight loss or weight gain, using drugs or alcohol excessively, trying to harm oneself, or making plans to do so. And of course, for that very last one, it's very important to tell someone and to call the National Suicide Hotline if that is the case, and just to make sure that they really don't have a plan and that they are not going to act on that is super important, because this is why we take this time to kind of cover this part of the presentation before going into self-care, because many of us may be experiencing these things, or our loved ones may be experiencing these things and haven't just directly called it out yet. And so I would just say, for more than 2 weeks, I would definitely just pay attention to that number. The fact that it's sudden, it's kind of drastic, it's more extreme than usual. I would just pay attention to the history of their behaviors, and then, changes and things of that nature. And then, of course, when it interrupts our daily lives, I think that really does matter. That's when I knew I had a mental health condition, was when it just started affecting the way that I was handling my relationships, my work, and things of that nature. So again, how should we look at these symptoms? Intensity, duration, and level of distress. So how severe are the symptoms? How is this different than their normal behavior? Those are great questions to ask ourselves when we're kind of making these mental notes. Duration, again, how long have they lasted? And 2 weeks is not the tell sign for all mental health conditions. I think it's just a really good starting point to understand when something may be starting to show itself as something other than a bad day or a bad week. Are they seasonal? There are seasonal mental health conditions, and that's something to be paying attention to, especially now. It has been said that they are more, at an intensified rate more than ever because of COVID, and because we're experiencing the symptoms at such a different way, especially in Illinois, as we just woke up to snow today. Are these periods of these symptoms that are coming up, are they broken up into different chunks of time? Are they happening all at once? Does it seem to be in a cycle? Kind of make note of those things, because those can point to different mental health conditions. And then level of distress. Again, how much do these symptoms impair their daily functioning? How drastic are the changes, and how is it affecting their relationships? I think these are really good questions to ask ourselves as we look at these symptoms. And of course, using these questions to eventually guide a conversation, talk to a trusted mental health care professional, or to a doctor, just kind of about these symptoms. So now it's important to kind of talk about our feelings, just so that we can open up this conversation of self-care, because with self-care is about understanding our feelings and processing our feelings. So our emotions are very important to our daily life, which is why I started us off with a fun way to do that. They don't always have to be, everything that you read from a book, and things of that nature. We can use fun things to check in with ourselves and our emotions. So some reminders as we, talk about our emotions is to allow ourselves to feel. This is super important, and something that I think gets lost in translation in our lives as we get really busy and try to balance everything. Don't succumb to societal pressure to shut down emotions. It could be society's pressuring you to kind of keep on going, keep staying motivated, keep, reaching your work goals and things of that nature, or, being there for everyone else, but not being there for yourself. that isn't going to create like a healthy and sustainable lifestyle, which in turn is going to affect other things. And so we may not see these things happen right away, but this is why it's so important to just remember to keep this maintenance up. And then recognize when you or those you love use stigmatizing language. This is something that, I still work at, even though I have been, working at NAMI for about 2 years now. Saying things like crazy, saying things like, OCD, or, I'm feeling depressed, even those things can feel really stigmatizing to someone who does have a mental health condition. So that, first off, can be, you know, can bring shame to others, but also can bring shame to yourself in the long run. The more that we allow these types of statements and things like, man up, or, grow up, and things like that, if we talk to ourselves that way, we're really going to start believing that. And we're going to get in a pattern of, not allowing ourselves to feel emotions that are important to feel. And then just a reminder, our brain and our body and our, whole system knows that we have emotions, and whether we want to embrace them or not, we do have them. Everyone has them, and we are not alone in that. So that's important to remember. Don't ignore your emotions or feelings by bottling up feelings, larger implosions, and I say implosions because implosions, of course, happen on the inside, and then create or occur on the inside and then exacerbate out. But they can occur in ways that we never expected. They can show up, for example, I didn't deal with and cope with the loss of my grandfather my senior year of high school way back when. And it ended up really affecting me my freshman and sophomore year of college. And then when I went to therapy, I realized that a lot of the things that were concerning me about my life actually were stemming from me not addressing those emotions or feelings at the time. So it's really important not to put it on the back burner or things of that nature. I know it's hard to do every day, but we can give ourselves breaks here and there, but making sure that we get back to addressing those emotions before it's too late and it starts affecting us in the ways we don't even know is very important. Another thing that we should do is talk it out. This is just really helpful. Attending things like this is even helpful. We have a bunch of different programs that we offer at NAMI KDK, like we have expressive writing if you're into kind of a guided way to express your emotions and get to a deeper meaning. That is really helpful to me. We also have there's a bunch of different support groups which we can go over at the end of the presentation, but finding someone you trust is really important. I also think it's very helpful to find someone located outside of your home because of isolation times. When we're with our family, we may have great relationships with our family. I do. But it's really important for me to get social support outside of those who live directly in my household. Just to make sure that we're maintaining a healthy system and that we can depend on each other for the things that we need to depend on each other, and that we're not putting a strain on our system. So also, if you do have kiddos and other family members who may be paying attention to the way that we're talking, it's really important to demonstrate having these conversations or practicing checking in with ourselves so that, we're modeling this healthy pattern and process. And of course, we never know that when we are talking it out with someone, that person may need to hear, whatever you may have to say. Even there's something about sharing a similar, experience. And I think it's really awesome when we are vulnerable with one another and we can just show our humanness. That is really important in what keeps us in touch, especially during these times. And then continuing with this, it's really important to find positive coping skills. And I say positive in caps because negative coping skills are reality. Obviously, there are negative and positive coping skills. And some of those being so negative, we've definitely heard of things during COVID, like, go and have that glass of wine, go and have that, candy, go do whatever you need to do. And I Totally get that. But we definitely need to make sure that we are balancing our coping skills and just remembering which things are actually going to sustain us and fuel us up, um, rather than, kind of be something that these negative coping skills don't necessarily fuel us back up. They give us time to relax and check out, which I think is okay. But making sure that we do have those positive ones, which restore us and recharge us, are really important. And I think being realistic in what those are to you is very important. We don't need to make self-care as complicated as, having a whole spa night or something of that nature. Watching Schitt's Creek on Netflix for 20 minutes can be something that is a positive coping skill. It's making me laugh. It's, helping me check out, but in a way that, like, that show also produces times for healthy lessons, healthy emotions, and things of that nature. Um, just find out what works best for you, and we will kind of go into that further. Attend support groups, something that I never did in my past until working for NAMI KDK, and I never thought I would ever attend one, but I can't rave enough about how much that they have done for me. Not only are they a place of community and support outside of, not everyone understands fully the lengths, what we're going through or what our family members are going through. And I think that can be really hard to explain unless you're simply going through the same thing. So that is very, very important to me. It has provide a great sense of meaning and community. There's a sense of accountability in terms of, just making sure I come and check in. That can be a great way to get me to do self-care. And then another thing is that it is incredibly rewarding, and it can give a big sense of purpose, because in NAMI support groups, for example, we do utilize everyone's own lived experience, right? So, you could be the one to end up really giving a lot of the advice during those support groups. So, knowing that you're helping others through your experience alone can bring meaning that is just so vital to what we need as human beings. Then, of course, seeking mental health professional guidance. This is something that can seem like is daunting, but it's actually not if you have the right supports in place. And that being, you can always call us. I placed our phone number here. It will be placed within the recording and presentation and in the different resource notes. But we give out referrals and recommendations based on what you need, whether it be a hospital, inpatient, outpatient, individualized therapy, support groups based off of a specific topic, or community that you're a part of. There are so many different things out there. We even have referrals and recommendations for, all types of assistance, because we know that mental health can only be addressed when our priorities and our immediate needs are addressed. So, if you need help with rental assistance, phone assistance, housing, anything like that, just go ahead and give us a call. We'd be happy to help, because we do know those resources, because that's part of what we offer to our community. But there are so many different resources out there. And of course, NAMI KDK is a free one, where we do offer these support groups in different areas to our community. Something that else is important before we kind of get into these overall topics of self-care is to just develop a healthy routine. It sounds so simple, but yet so many of us probably don't do the things that I'm about to say. Keeping it simple is important, first off, but waking up and going to bed at the same time every day can just set your body at a time that's ready to wake up and participate in your day fully, especially with virtual and remote work and things of that nature. It's really important to try to create habits and routines that we can realistically stick to. That's really important. The other thing is to try to drink a glass of water when you wake up every day. That can set our body up to wake up and just prepare ourselves in that one more way. That's an intentional habit that you're partaking in, and you will recognize that. And maybe focus on your breathing, focus on your thoughts as you're waking up, even though they could be jumbled like mine in the morning. Make your bed. This sounds silly because probably no one's coming over at this point because of COVID, but making your bed can start a chain of reactions for productivity and get you just started on the right track, which can be just super important. And then, of course, letting the light in, especially as temperatures are getting colder and we're seeing snow. I know it can be sad for those of us who aren't the biggest winter fans, but making sure that we're still getting that vitamin D is really, really important. And then get dressed and get ready in a way that makes you feel happy. Wear something that makes you happy. Wear, do your hair, do something that, is for you. Invest in yourself every day. It can be something as simple as just putting on clothes that you really enjoy. And, lists really help me. They don't help everyone, but that can be a really great way of keeping a routine and schedule. And of course, reduce your technology time. I think this can be a big thing that we forget about in our remote world right now. Any way that you can try to combat the negative effects that come with technology, which there are so many positives that I don't want to focus on just negatives, but whether it be blue light glasses, prescription glasses, things of that nature, whether it be, turning your phone off at a certain time or not checking your phone right when you wake up or things of that nature. That's really important. And then try to find projects or hobbies that you haven't worked on in a while. Behind me, I have wallpaper that is so fun, but I have to admit, it was one of my very beginning of quarantine hobbies that I picked up, was just interior design and just having fun with it. It was very frustrating, but at the same time, it brought me so much time to invest in myself and invest in my space that I just thoroughly enjoy. So, trying to try something out is awesome. It's not too late. Quarantine is continuing to happen. Isolation is continuing to happen. So just trying to remember those things as we are adapting to the different restrictions. And then, of course, try to spend time with loved ones, with pets, and try to make contact in different ways. Be creative and, of course, utilize self-care. So with that, we will go on to self-care specifically during COVID-19. So something that's important to note is that on our website and on our social media, we do have tons of different resources, tips, and ideas that we share. So I would highly recommend checking that out because there are truly so many awesome things created by so many individuals that we get to pull from and highlight on our page. So three things that I feel that are important to highlight that, can be really helpful, especially during this time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to do face masks and things of that nature because I think we all have heard these types of self-care ideas and things of that nature before. But really, I just kind of want to go over basic yet really vital elements that can be included in all different self-care practices and processes. So something that's really important is to practice self-compassion. Being kind to ourselves is so, so important. We're not going to get all of our to-do lists complete every single day. Mistakes are going to happen, and make sure that you are celebrating the small wins and the small successes. Something that I do is make a list of all the things that I'm going to do every day. And it's funny because the first things that I write on there are the things that I've already completed. And I do that kind of just to take care of myself. Something I actually have become good at is making my bed, which I never was in the past. But I'm like, if I can make my bed, I can cross that off on my checklist every single day. So that is something that I do. And like I said, I'm a list person. So, practicing that like little pat on the back and self-praise of being like, I did do that. And, working that into our, lives and our habits is really important. Especially if we are good at talking to others, and I think naturally as human beings, we do have the ability to help others. Talk to yourself as you would a friend, and celebrate yourself as you would your friend, and give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself that hug that you need. It's really important to do right now. And then isolation, well-being, daily to-do list. This is something that has been especially helpful for me. So something that I do is use these categories to implement kind of my daily to-do list. So essential tasks. I have, my work, my different things that I need to do to cook, to whatnot, and I have those under the label of essential tasks, and that changes every day. Clean one thing in space, of course, every single day. I have my bed on there, which I'm able to cross off right away. And, trying to be cognizant of that. It also gets me to clean my screens way more than I used to. So I count that. Again, that's a small success and such a small detail, but it matters. And I made time for it. And then tend to something growing, kind of get a plant, get, something to help grow, especially during times like these, get a succulent, get an orchid, whatever it may be. And then, if there are pets, that is great too. And, tend to them, care for them, especially kids as well, of course, invest in them and just enjoy this time and view it less as a constraint and more as an investment. It can be truly beautiful to invest in something that's growing and to see the results from that. And then be mindfully present to something. So this is something that I personally like to check in with all my five senses every day. That's something that is under my list. So I make a list of, each of my five senses and make sure that I do one thing a day for each of them to, be mindfully aware of, which is just important. And that helps us establish the intentionality in our brains, which then produces the recharge that we need, for which is what self-care is all about. Human connection outside the home. I don't care if it's texting, social media, email, just try to make it that something for you and not for work. Whether it be posting a status on Facebook so that you're updating your family, that's fine. Try to call someone or text someone, especially right now. I think that can be a really great way to connect at this time. Do one thing to get your heart rate up, whether, I know the weather isn't perfect right now, but, maybe you can, do a fun dance, listen to a song, exercise, however it may be, go for a quick walk, take a dog on a walk, anything like that. And do one thing you'll be glad you did later. I think this is something that I've truly appreciated on my daily to-do list. This is something that truly gives space for an investment in yourself. And I think it can turn a habitual item or chore into something meaningful. So, mine will be like doing the laundry sometimes, and I hate doing the laundry. That's the one chore that bugs me for some reason. But do you know how good it feels to like know it's crossed off my list? And it turns that from being like the worst chore in the world into being something that like I gained. So even something that I don't enjoy doing, I get something out of, and I get to reframe that for myself, which I think is just awesome. And then separate. When possible, create different spaces for work, relaxation, sleep, etc. Especially for your kiddos. If you do have any, trying to separate that workspace from their bedrooms. I know for me that's not possible. I'm in my bedroom right now, but something that me and my nieces do is we go out to the car in the driveway and we just blast music, and that is such a helpful way for us to just like check out for a second and to just get away from that space. And I think that's really important in transition times, especially when, making sure that we have a habit of when we first wake up, we're not just logging on the computer. We're not doing that. We're going outside and walking the dog. We're going and making ourselves breakfast. We're going to shower. We're going to do this. Then we're coming to recenter, and then we're going to do something else for our next break. So I think adding that routine to break up the role changes is very important. It would be just like a commute. So, like leaving to go to work, that drive would be part of that role transition. So just trying to add something, whether it be, walking around the house, pacing around the house, whatever it may be, it can really be simple. Just trying to break up those times can be important for, just your mental space and what you're able to take on every day. And then commit to boundaries in your time spent on each aspect of your life, whether that be, we kind of talked about it earlier in terms of, turning off your phone at a certain time, maybe not accepting work calls or checking work emails. Possible. I know that's not a luxury that everyone has, but trying to give yourself what you need, and being realistic with yourself in that and being very honest is important. And then utilize self-care, social support outside from those in your home. So that is very important. And I said this earlier, but this can be something that can put strain. Even if you are a healthy, awesome, really well communicative family. I think it just helps to have these outside sources to call on and to also invest in. It can be helpful to them. And then ultimately, knowledge is power. So staying up to date on important health and mental health information from these resources can really help us in times like these. It can be hard to work through the murkiness of COVID-19 and the isolation as things change and then go back to different levels and then, kind of shift back and forth. I think it's important for us to realize some of the statistics when, making boundaries of, Thanksgiving plans, whatever that may be, making sure that we do feel it's okay to, have to change our Thanksgiving plans. It's, we're going to have to work through those emotions, but I think the more that we know and the more that we feel confident in our knowledge in what that eventually, causes us to take into our systems, and then, our actions are based off of that, I think that can be very powerful. So COVID-19, we have some, the CDC, of course, and the Department of Public Health, and then mental health. Just for general updates, I mean, even our blog, NAMI KDK, we try to post blog updates, subscribe to our newsletters, do whatever, just to try to get those connections and reminders of, we post things about things that are about COVID-19, and then post mental health things and just a bunch of different educational supports. And I think anytime you're taking that time for knowledge is very important. And I think, documentaries and books can also be really awesome during this time, and can just, build us up, again, recharge us and re-energize us. Things that we can do together. So first, of course, we can take away from this is that we need to take care of ourselves first. I like to use the airline safety metaphor of putting on your mask before putting on your child's mask. We can't help others until we help ourselves. Self-care is very important. Take breaks from technology. Maybe that's unfollowing some people that, are hard to follow right now. Maybe that's, deleting an app for a week or something of that nature. Do what you think would be a great investment in your mental health. And stick to a healthy routine. Reach out to others. So reach out to loved ones, especially over Thanksgiving. I think especially those who may, be experiencing a Thanksgiving that looks a lot different from years past. Maybe that being one of their family members is no longer with them, or things of that nature. Really be intentional in reaching out to these loved ones, because it can be a hard time, and just knowing that you are checking in and you recognize that that could be a hard emotion and time for them is very important in showing your support. And of course, spend this time to share intentional gratitude. We can't get to a point of resilience, which of course means being able to adapt to adversity and hard changes in our lives. We can't do that without gratitude. So that means we need to spend time to be thankful and appreciate our situations around us, even if they aren't ideal or what we imagine for ourselves, because of course, they are bringing meaning in some way, and they may not be clear to us at this moment, but I think spending time focusing on things that are in your life are of course, going to be healthier habits to invest in for keeping up with your mental health. Write letters and make phone calls, do snail mail, things of that nature. Check in with your loved ones. Show support mental health awareness by wearing lime green. Refer someone to a mental health service. Refer someone to our warm line, or call us for your loved one. Whatever it may be. Use social media to showcase your desire to end the stigma. And by ending the stigma, that is something that NAMI likes to utilize to say, end the stigma surrounding mental health. Let's get these 50% of people who aren't getting treatment for their mental health condition to come forward and to feel that they can take control of their mental health condition and get the proper help that they need. And then talk about mental health openly with loved ones. Again, the more that we model this vulnerability, the more that others are going to feel comfortable doing the same, which is awesome. And then just some family activities, ideas, and of course I can give more, but playing games together, whether it be a board game, video game, whatever it may be, this can just be a really good time to connect and get to know each other and our fun personalities and what each of us have to offer in a family. Charades can be a really fun way to do that. And you don't need anything other than maybe some papers and pen. But then moving your bodies together, me and my nieces, we, like I said, go outside in the car and just dance and sing really loud. We get outside as much as possible, even if it is for that 5 to 10 minute walk. That still is something that you're investing in when you do it. And embrace the seasons changing. The more that we sit and stay inside and sulk about the seasons changing, the less we have time to embrace what's in front of us. So just trying to redirect our thoughts to positive ones and viewing situations in a opportunity rather than a disappointment is just important. Get into a TV show or movie series together to have something to share as a family. We started rewatching Harry Potter from start to finish. You could do this with a TV show that's currently on TV, so that maybe it's The Bachelor and you're watching it with your sister, your loved one, and or your brother. My brothers watch it. Sorry, brother. But that comes on every Tuesday and we watch it together, and that's something that we can share as a family, and that's routine that gets us to check in with each other and spend time together. Make a craft together. Pinterest is 1,000 things. They can be really simple to really complex. Looking up on specific topics like fall crafts, there's 1,000 things on there. Write letters to family or friends and teach the value of snail mail. This is something that can be just so awesome. Whether it be writing letters to Santa coming up here, or writing thankful type letters to those in your lives, that can be a really fun activity for everyone to sit down and do together, or sign the same card, or decorate, or add your own piece of flair to something. That can be just a really meaningful experience that I don't think we would have made time for if our world was looking a little bit different today. So I think we can appreciate some of these habits that are being brought back. Make a meal as a family, make your own pizza type of night, do a cooking show challenge, watch Chopped Junior, things of that nature. You can YouTube instructional cooking videos, things like that. And then let your kiddos plan a night of fun for the family. I think it's super cute to let them try to create the ideas, and you'd be surprised if it's actually probably things that you usually do on an everyday basis, but them being able to choose it is something that they really enjoy, which I think would be just an awesome thing to watch. And now I have time for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Annie. That was what a great presentation. So much helpful information, and so let's start off our Q&A. So if our attendees have any questions, you can find that Q&A feature down at the bottom and put your question in that box, and we'll get that. Wanted to start off with a question about kind of the distance that we all feel between us and our loved ones right now. And you talked at the beginning about kind of watching for symptoms in ourselves and others. And, how do we support our loved ones when we can't necessarily be together? Any tips or thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. And great question. Especially, due to the relevance of the situation. I think kind of one of the first things to think about is how often can you realistically reach out to them. My best friend moved to Nashville, and our schedules are so beyond different that we can pretty much only talk on the phone probably twice a week if we're lucky. So I'm not experiencing her everyday thoughts and emotions. So I can't really tell when there's patterns and symptoms showing up all the time unless I'm asking vulnerable questions. So I think something that really works is utilizing that modeling type behavior, and being vulnerable first, I think can set a really great precedent for our loved ones that we're admitting, like I kind of started the presentation, like let's admit if we're having a moment that isn't something that we enjoy feeling, and like let's share that, because that could be exactly what they're thinking, and that can open up a space for connection and further discussion to kind of have these discussions. And I think, like knowing these symptoms now too, like after having like resources, it can also be helpful to like send things to them or suggest a certain like show or TED Talk or things of that nature, just being like, wow, this really helped me. Let me know what you think. I think that can be a really great way to also show that, you're paying attention and you really are looking out for them and want them to be taking care of themselves.
Yeah, I love that. Asking vulnerable questions and answering them yourself. That's such a great insight and a great place to start. And even back to the exercise we started out with tonight of trying to pick out which Moira we would be, and that makes it something that's enjoyable and fun, and yet opens up the door to have like a meaningful connection. So that's so helpful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned guided writings. Could you say more about that and share kind of what that group's about?
Yes, so we have it in English and Spanish, which is important to note. But on our website, you can see our schedule and our calendar of all of our events. It's the first Tuesday of the second Tuesday of the month, and the Spanish version is on the second Thursday of the month. But it's called Expressive Writing and Let's Talk. So basically, we have a scholar who has been working for so long. She has a bipolar disorder, and she uses writing to kind of channel characters and emotions and things like that to kind of talk about a holistic experience of healing, and just kind of, again, like experiencing emotions and things of that nature. And what's interesting is every single time I take it, I learn something completely new, and I write about something completely different, which I think just tells the effectiveness of something like that. And I'm like creative in different ways, but not in writing and things like that. So it really helps me because she guides you through, creating a character, creating what they are like, and it gets like process that. I've also done it with my nieces, and they like draw it out, and I think that is very cool. So I highly recommend that. So yeah, we have those for about an hour and a half, and then we do have some of our other programs. We have connection recovery support groups, which is for those 18 and older who have symptoms or are living with a mental health condition. And then we have family support groups, which is for those who have family members or loved ones living with a mental health condition. And then we have LGBTQ connection recovery support groups, which are those who are in the LGBTQ community that also have a mental health condition. And then we have Women's Friendship Circle, which is kind of it's an empowerment setting to talk about common mental health topics and things of that nature. And we have that in Spanish as well. So yeah, we're getting all of them in Spanish too. So we're really excited about that. But yeah, and we're continuing to develop programs and things of that nature too.
That's wonderful. And all of
Yeah,
those are free?
they are.
That's
Yes.
great. Cool.
Yeah, and then I will make sure to like send that information out as well to make sure that everyone can get that. But again, it's on namikdk.org. We have it on our calendar schedule, and we register online, even if it is an in-person. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's excellent. I loved when you said plants, because I've gotten into house plants since all of this started, and I have, I think, 13 now that I'm trying to take care of. My fern was looking a little rough this morning, but it's a good reminder to invest that time, and that's not just caring for the plant, it's also caring for ourselves. So that's great.
Yeah, it improves oxygen in the house too.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
I want to ask a question about a word that you used that I wrote it down in big letters because I thought, oh, that's a really important word. You said reframe, and I'm wondering if you can share more about the idea of how we can reframe a situation or something in our minds, and how that helps us maybe find new ways of coping and moving through a situation.
Yeah. So reframe is definitely part of my social work terminology that I utilize, because I think, it's something that we use in therapeutic practice, but I think it's something that we can do on our own once we start to recognize it. So a lot of times what you'll do in therapy is talk out loud and explain what's going on, and, explain that a situation that you maybe had a reaction to that maybe you didn't want to have, or maybe that you think this about a situation, and then your therapist goes, okay, well, how can we think differently, or how can we put ourselves in the other person's shoes, or how can we view this as a strength or something like that. And I think anytime we're utilizing this practice, we are choosing to view things in a positive, like that's an intentional choice to flip the situation. No matter, COVID-19 is not fun. Like this is not how most of us want to be spending 2020. But I got my elephant wallpaper up on the wall, and I probably would have never had this done. And I think it shows something about my personality. It shows that I like to, be energetic and things like that. So I think anytime you're utilizing this element of reframing, it can be just really helpful to just do things in a different light. I also think something that brings me to this connection is that I recently invested in a light therapy type light that was like $20 on Amazon, and it I just put it on in the morning, first off, because I'm not a morning person. It wakes me up. That's part of my morning routine. And I think when I turn that on, it just changes the room, right? And it changes the lighting in the room. And I think that's what we do when we reframe. We're, highlighting and re-energizing an idea or a moment that, probably couldn't be lit up like that before. So that was a great question. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? We'll take a moment here. If anyone else has a question, to put it in the chat or the Q&A. Yeah, we're getting some love for the elephant wallpaper. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely went, like I said, it wasn't my most happy project at the time, but it brought me tremendous, I think, just resilience building in terms of okay, I gotta get through this. Let's go. We could do it. And just knowing the finished product was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But it's a great reminder of that. And yeah, so kind of if anyone has any other questions, let's see.
Got a comment in here. Karen loves how you said to think of less as a constraint and more of an investment. And I think that's kind of that reframing that you're talking about. And even with all of those things you instructed us that, we could put on our to-do list and the way to organize that, I think, I look at that, and as someone who's maybe not as list oriented, I think, but then when I reframe that as that's, an investment that I'm making, it really does kind of change it. So that's really helpful. Yeah. Great comment.
Yeah. And thank you for, admitting that you're not a list person. I am such a list person that I actually typically surround myself with people who aren't list people. So it can be like really funny. All my loved ones are the complete opposite of me in that way. But I think, even taking that time to think about a few of those things that that you need to work on, like maybe that's the sensory maintenance and making sure that you check in with yourself with your five senses, making sure that you're like making intentional time for that. I think that can be important. And ways that my partner does it is he puts it in his car and he puts like a little checklist on a sticky note, and he does it while he still works in an office. And he does it on his way to work. So I think, we don't have to be list people, but I think like we can learn elements from the list and apply it to invest in ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, this whole experience has opened me up to lists more than I have been in the past, because seeing, when you get to the end of the day, you think, what did I accomplish today? If you have that visualization, it's very rhythmic and therapeutic to kind of be able to move through that. So it's we've all experienced a lot of change, and I think that's a thing for me is kind of moving into that practice has been really helpful. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think something with that is that I briefly mentioned it. It sounds so like silly to do at the time, but to make sure that we're checking off things, even if we've already done them, I think can be like the most helpful thing to develop that habit of making a list into, make sure we're addressing what we need to, and, we're not going to get to everything on our list, but I think like looking at all of the check marks, like makes us, that's an investment in ourselves. And that's like a, pat on the back every day. And even if those are the only lists that we make, are the things that we've already done and we make the list afterwards, I think that's fine too.
Yeah.
So I think that like just shows you what you did in a day, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I was glad to hear you say that you like to start by adding things you've already done, because that's typically how my list starts is, I've been doing, I'm halfway through my day, maybe I should make a list. And so I start by adding all the things I've already accomplished. So glad to know that's an option. That's not so
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Annie, thank you again so much for your time being here. Again, this has been recorded, and we will post this on our website. You can find us at www.sandwichpld.org. We'll post this there as well as our YouTube page and Facebook, and you can find all of that information that Annie shared with us tonight, including links to resources and everything you need. If you need help getting connected to NAMI in any way, contact us here at the library, and we'd be happy to make that connection. Again, Annie, thank you so much to you and your whole
thank
team.
you, Matthew.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for your time tonight. And I think with that, I will say thank you to our attendees for coming, for investing this time in yourself and your loved ones. And everyone, have a very happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And thank you so much for having me. And of course, give us a call, email, contact us in any way. And we are here for you.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. We'll see y'all next time.
All right. Bye.